Underhells Campaign. Game 11. Genestealer Cults Liquorice vs Spyre Hunters Tek Reapers. Mission: Breakthrough. During the arduous journey through the Crane cities, on the outskirts of the Hive Secundus, Liquorice cultists were ambushed by the notorious Spyrers, hunting both roaming Malstrain mutants as well as adventurous gangs. The only way for victory for the Liquorice is to swiftly crush the fighters manning the barricade in the middle of the road, before the reinforcements arrive and close the encirclement. Mission for today is Breakthrough. It required a little bit of balance tweaking, both for the Underhells campaign, as well as Spyre gang rule quirkiness. In the end, from this game onwards we started treating the Abyssal Ferryman team as part of the regular gang, so they do not go above crew limit and must be chosen, or randomized, as any other fighter. Besides that, the attacker crew size was also increased to 8 for this game. Mission for the attacker is to use their initial number advantage to do as much damage as possible to the defenders, who are deployed in the middle of the board. Then they can switch their focus to the reinforcements, which start appearing from the first turn. The mission type changing into the rolling roads, once the attacker has any model closer to the trailing edge than the defender, does not even need to be triggered, as the mission is to kill everyone from the opposing gang. Liquorice welcomes back their leader, Aloys, in their ranks. He was grievously wounded at the beginning of the first cycle and has been recovering from his wounds since then. To bolster his offensive capabilities, he received a power maul during downtime. 2 new fighters joined the cultists. Aberrant Carol with a heavy rock drill and hybrids Bishek, who picked up a webgun left in the stash by the specialist who was slain in one of their games. Some fighters had their survivability improved by exchanging their hazard suits for mesh armor. Spyrers had of course much more limited options on what to buy during the downtime. As a reward for his performance in the first cycle, Theodore was given a Caryatid Prime. A mixture of photo goggles, bio boosters and respirators were also distributed among the elite fighters, bought with the rest of the downtime credits. As a result of random crew size and composition, the initial defending force consisted of 2 Spyrers, Leader Fox and Aura Sullivan, and a custom rig. The vehicle was deployed on the road, in front of the barricade. Oris took a very defensive spot on top of the bunker overlooking the road, while the Huntmaster trailed behind the vehicle, ready to assist anywhere thanks to his grappling hook. Main force of cultists was deployed on the road, either on top or next to the rock grinder combine. Bersic on the dirt bike was flanking the vehicle on the right, while Champion Pieter and Hybrid with web gun were on the other side. Hidden in the ash allowed 3 fighters to use the infiltrate rule for the deployment. Cultists decided to go for the throat, and potentially strike down both Spyrers swiftly from the start. 2 aberrants, led by the cult Alpha Aloys, deployed out of sight of the enemy, right behind one of the crates, with a makeshift bridge going straight on top of the bunker. They could immediately start their activations by climbing up, avoiding the dangerous trait of the battlefield surface. But once knocked down, Initiative 5+ might spell doom for the mutants. They will have just one shot to do this right. A loud thump sound of the grenade launcher opens the first activation of the game. Custom vehicle shot in the direction of clumped fighters, but only manages to land the frag on the rock grinder, with no damage done, apart from some paint chipping. Ammo test is required and grenade launcher jams, which will make it much more difficult for the Abyssal Ferryman vehicle to contribute in the future turns. Bersic drove a little bit closer to the beast lair tentacle, but a burst from his auto pistol missed. Sullivan moved closer to the bunker edge and shot at the closest visible aberrant. Shots missed, but one stray bullet had hit the other mutant, Bernard. Even without any damage, it was still a very good result for Spyrers, as one action will have to be wasted to stand up. Taking the height of the crate into consideration, Bernard will only be able to join both comrades in the next turn as a second wave of aggression. With no more other actions to burn, it's finally time for Aloys and Carol to climb up and get ready for the next turn and potential aggression. Huntmaster tries to stop them by first using a grappling hook to position himself on the opposite ramp, and then attacking with his mirror shield, but the attack misses. Situation for the cultists is even more grim when the last Spyre is randomized as a reinforcement. After passing a check, Theodore is placed to complete the surrounding of the big chunk of the GSC force. Even with priority won by the Tek Reapers for the second turn, their offensive will have to be halted. A Tyrannite spawns just at the back of Hunt Leader, threatening the charge. Spyrers decided to play safe and use a grappling hook to move their leader out of the way and bait the Tyrannite into a clumped enemy. Aloys shouted to encourage his mutant bodyguards to act. First of the group activation was Carol Cobalt. Rock drill whirring, he charged a Taurus. Such mass, advancing over wobbly planks, was matched by the technical superiority of Oris' hunting rig and forced to do a hard stop. With no charge bonus, Sullivan only had 3 attacks with his paired power fists to stop the aberration. He did not fail, however, and Carol's body fell down below the bridge, with a captured result from the lasting injuries. Undeterred, Aloys continued his plan. With blazing fury, he unleashed a barrage of shots at the Sullivan. In total, Oris was hit 5 times, but only 1 wound was dealt after all smoke cleared. Psychic Familiar advanced forward to block the bridge, in case the enemy would get up and charge in his second activation. Bernard moved at his leader's back, trying to act as a bodyguard versus 2 other Spyrers, now threatening from the board edge. His defensive posture worked when Theodore moved forward, stayed on the low ground and tried to blind the mutant with his mirror shield, but the attack missed. Thankfully, with the Born to the Wastes tactic card, Theodore did not have to test difficult terrain. In the middle of the board, a fierce road battle continued. Rockgrinder's autocannon blasted a hole in Custom's rig drive system, but due to redundant drive system, catastrophic hit was downgraded to just a glancing hit. With his grenade launcher out of commission, and under constant fire, Abyssal Ferroman driver put the pedal to the metal and drove straight into the Genestealer Cultist lines. Pieter and his Psychic Familiar managed to jump out of the way at the last moment. The Beast Lair marker was finally taken down and cultists had an open way to support their leader. He was in a very precarious position. Firstly, Oris managed to take out his Psychic Familiar with a critical injury. Theodore also found a spot where he could stand on top of the crates when charging Bernard, and still be in versatile range of his Nogger blade. The Aberrant fell down on the ground seriously injured. The Ferroman skipper arriving from reinforcement lost his way and was deployed by the opponent in the far corner of the map. With just 4-inch movement, he will most likely be unable to see any action during this game. Just a few meters more, and Zbyszek would be in range to shoot his web gun at one of the powerful Spyrers. Even heavily armored enemies can be easily taken down, as sedatives from the web weapons ignore any armor saves. But the Genestealer spawned right in front of him in the 3rd turn, thwarting his plans. With yet another priority on the side of the Spyrers, Theodore charged and finished off Aberrant Bernard, scoring another critical lasting injury. With no help in sight, Aloys decided that he would have the best chances in melee combat. His power hammer will have more chances to go through heavy Oris armor than his last pistols. But both combatants missed or did not do any damage with their attacks. Roaming horrors on the map finally could reach combat. Tyrannite's attacks were easily deflected by Jakara's Nogger blade, and it was killed in retaliation. Genestealer did not have any problems in dispatching a regular ganger. Gnarly claw ripped through Zbyszek's femur bone, scoring a hobbled lasting injury. All was not lost for the Liquorice gang. Combane adjusted his position and scored a powerful hit on Theodore, seriously injuring him. Even his Caryatid was terrified and broke after seeing his owner falling down. Custom Rig continued his maneuvering in the back of the enemy lines. This time he was very successful, hitting and injuring both Pieter and his pet. Champion fell on the ground seriously injured, while Familiar got only a flesh wound. With 2 activations still to go, it was just a matter of time before Oris could overpower the Cult Alpha in melee combat, although he did lose another wound in the process. Lasting injury for GSC leader was yet another captured. Both fighters that managed to challenge Sullivan to melee combat will be potentially kidnapped and used as bait, to attract even more enemies for Spyre's entertainment. With injured fighters on both sides, last activations in the turn were sending some fighters to help with recovery rolls. Sullivan jumped down to help Theodore, while Bersic swung his dirt bike around and went to help Pieter. Both recovery rolls were successful. The Malstrain horror pressure on Genestealer Cult did not stop. From the same saw entrance, 2 Broodscums arrived in the 4th turn. Ignoring them, both Rockgrinder as well as Joseph, who was still deployed in the transport area of the vehicle, opened fire in the direction of clumped Spyre fighters. Joseph's autogun shot managed to punch through an already battered Horus rig, and a serious injury result was scored. Spyrers used their activation advantage to their favor. Horus managed to crawl away, passing dangerous terrain tests, trying to get away from Bersik's range. Once enemy activations were spent, Huntmaster used his grapnel hook to go into range and took Bersik out of action with a couple of poisonous whip strikes. That was the last straw for the Genestealer Cultists. With two fighters constantly being harassed by the enemy custom rig, and their vehicle surrounded by roaming horrors, Liquorice decided it was a good moment to voluntarily bottle and flee the battlefield. Victory for the Tek Reapers. 2 terror points gained during the mission was enough to reach a threshold, which allows Spyrers to recruit 1 Caryatid Prime for free. They decided to attach it to the Huntmaster Fox. Horus gains the nod as the MVP of the mission, stopping Aberrant's and Cult Alpha's aggression. The least useful of the Spyrers was Theodore, Jakara disappointing today with his performance. Genestealer Cult Gang again is plagued by the very high lasting injuries rolls. From the 4 models that infiltrated forward and were met with the full force of the Spyrers, 2 were captured, Aberrant Carol and leader Aloys, and the other 2 were critically injured. Bernard was saved by the hanger-on rogue Doc. Cult Alpha's pet was not even attempted to be saved. Carol was released back after the mission to the Liquorice gang, with a fear of the Spyrer's custom injury. He will need to pass the willpower test to charge any fighter in a Spyre rig. He also brought with him the location where leader Aloys is being held captive. The Spyrers cannot do anything to captured fighters, they will only keep them until the next downtime. Will the GSC gang attempt a rescue mission, or will they see through an obvious ambush and focus on other tasks in the meantime? Before answering that question, we need to finish the challenges from the second cycle of the campaign. In the next mission we again are going to see Spyrers, this time against the Goliath gang. See you next time.